So I don't normally show myself sowing seeds, but as a special treat today, because it's a really important seed sowing day today, I thought I'd just take you through my process. So this is the kind of organised chaos. So these are most of the seeds that have yet to be logged, and I log them into my database under seed packets. And so here you can see all the seed packets that I'm going to sow over the next year or so. So if we go back to a sowing log, these are the seeds that I'm sowing today, and some lettuces and lots of spinach, radishes, etc, etc. So what I do is, if I've got a new seed packet, for example, here's a good example, red kitten, I log it into my database. That's seed packet 359, so I always know what seed packet I planted, how many seed packets I've got of each variety, and all of that sort of thing, which I find incredibly useful, especially when I'm thinking I need to sow some kale. What seed packets for kale have I got? And I'll pull up the 20 or 30 different seed packets for kale and pick a nice selection from that list and just get on sowing. So if we look at a label, so I buy these labels now. I used to make my own labels, but then I just decided life was too short, because I could get a pack of labels like that for, I don't know, £6 or something, and that's quite a few hours work to make that many labels, and my time is worth a lot more than £6 an hour, so I don't make them anymore. So red kitten, set batch number 489, sown on 11th of the 9th, and I'll write the seed packet on the back of there, so that's seed packet 359 would go on the back of there, like that one. And that is basically, oh no, it's not quite. So the seed, once these seed packets are logged in, they go into these wicker baskets, and they're in order of the seed packet number, which makes it really easy to find, you know. So if I want seed packet 20, I always know, not surprisingly, it's between 19 and 21. And so even though I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of seed packets, I always know what I'm doing. Seed packets that I'm currently sowing from, so that are open and that I know I'm going to sow again within the next few weeks, I just keep here. So all of the current sort of seed packets that I'm currently working from are in here, as well as more seed packets that haven't been processed, for example. But any seed packet that's going to be more than a month or two, I'll put it back in these wicker baskets, and I've got loads of those. So I think that's enough about the basic process. So I've got all my seed packets, I've got all my labels. I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'm in my workshop, and this kind of doubles up as a growing room. So I've got my grow lights here behind this mylar blanket, which makes the light level much more bearable. And I'm going to have to create some space in here, because I'm going to start a few things under the grow lights, not much, just a few bits. And this is my highly luxurious seed sowing station. So I've got all my seeds here and all my labels. So it's time to get organised, because there's a lot to sow there. So down here I have all my trays and module cells, and I've got a whole lot more up there. So everything gets laid out on the floor, all the different trays, all the different seed packets and labels. And I've got my seed compost here. It's actually this stuff. So it's Levington's Advanced seed and modular compost. I don't normally get it with sand, but I got a really good offer on this with sand, so I thought I might as well invest in that. I think the sand is not really that relevant, it just makes it flow easily. And so if you've got an automated system for filling your seed trays, then the sand helps. Obviously it doesn't help me, but I got them 2 for price of 1, so I was quite happy about that. So this tray, I don't always do this, but I do often do it, is I will just multi-sow maybe 20 seeds into each cell here as spares. And at this time of year, it's really worth having some spares just in case you get any failures. And basically, you get that. And these will be ready for pricking out in 3 or 4 days' time. Just put my tray down there on the floor and fill it up with seeds with compost. And it just makes it a bit easier. So first up are the spinaches. Now we're doing 4 different types of spinach at the moment because we're just trying to settle on the varieties that we like most for winter. We really like Red Kitten, this one, in the summer, well not in the spring rather, and we actually like Mikado in the summer and early autumn, but we also quite like this America. We're just trying out the Giant Winter. Last year we didn't have a very good experience with the Medania, but it may have just been the particular variety from that supplier, so we're going to have a go with this from Gerry at Growseed and just try them out. So these are the spares that I'm going to do first. So I need 4 of those modules. I'll fill the rest with spare lettuces. So there we go. This is, I don't always sow like this. I often just direct sow into modules. But this is a fantastic way if you want to sow a lot of spares in a very small space. It's also a great way to sow if you're going to prick out something like brassicas, where you want to sow a wide range of different brassicas in a small space, but then only prick out maybe 12 or something like that out of each module. Anything that's unpredictable in terms of the germination rate, this is also a great way to sow. So yeah, I really like this, but it's a lot of work pricking out, so I don't always do it. There's a couple of other things to note. When I'm putting them in here, I don't really firm the compost down because I just want them to be really easy to prick out, and I often end up with a gap like this with nothing to plant in it. And so what I do is I keep a box here of all the things that are basically finished for the year. And so in that box I just had a rummage around and I found this Smile lettuce. So I just write a quick label and I'll just sow a few of those just in case. So in this tray we've got a kind of red Russian kale, which is red Ursa, and that's got really deep purple ribs, which looks really attractive, so I'm going to give that a go. And some red kale, sympathetic, and some black magic. So these, it's way too late to sow these outdoors now, but these are going to go in one of my little low tunnels, and we won't be eating these until spring. And because they're being planted so late, I'm hoping that we'll get a little bit of a late crop off them, just as we're managing the transition between our early kales and our late kales. So then I've just got my spare Grenoble Red and Flashy Trout and Oak Leaf Smile. So the other thing is, when you're doing this sort of sowing in these sorts of trays, it's quite fun sometimes to do some experiments, things like different amounts of watering, different depths of planting, things like that, see how it affects things. And generally what you find is, especially things like depth of watering, so depth of planting the seeds, it doesn't really matter. About 1 centimetre works for pretty much everything. So there we go. all ready for pricking out in about a week or so, maybe 7 days. I'm actually going away on holiday for a few days, so it will be about 8 days, I should think. Whilst I don't firm down the compost for anything that I'm going to prick out, I do firm it down for anything that is going to stay in the modules until it's planted out. And so this is a tray for spring onions, and I'm giving it a good firm down because one of the things with spring onions, and I've just refilled the tray, is that they have very small root systems. So when you're trying to get them out of these trays, when they're really small plants, maybe only sort of this sort of size, yeah, they can be a bit tricky. So having the module nice and firm in here reduces the chance that the root ball is going to disintegrate on you. So I've seen people use all kinds of tricks to speed up preparing this these seed trays, but I think that laborious method that I just showed you, it kind of just, you know, it's not really, that doesn't take really that long in the grand scheme of things. So I'm just pushing it with my finger about 1 centimetre deep. That seems to be just about right for them. And I'm going to sow North Holland Blood Red. I've already got a lot of White Lisbon and a lot of Stir on, but I really like these red spring onions. They're super mild over winter. They get a little bit stronger the more mature they get. You can grow them as a bulbing onion, but obviously I'm just growing them as a spring onion at this time of year. So this is about it now. You can't really sow them much later than this. So I'm going to sow about a pinch, which my pinches are generally 6 to 9 seeds, and it's nice to have a bit of variability in the number that you put in, because that just results in a bit of a difference in terms of the maturity rate. You could get maximum yield by getting 9 of them in every single one, but at this time of year you don't want maximum, or I don't want maximum yield. What I want is a few to come early and then the rest to sort of mature over winter. And so a few less onions, those mature just a little bit earlier, so that's really nice. So with practice you get the hang of what a pinch is. You need a lot of seeds when you're doing this. That's just 2 trays, and I've got another 8 trays or something like that of spring onions outside. Yeah, get through a lot. So I don't know whether you can see these. I always seem to miss one cell, so I'm just checking, because I just did a tray of White Lisbon and the germination was excellent, but there was just a couple of cells that no germination at all, so I'm sure I just wasn't paying attention and I just missed them. Anyway, it's just, while I'm just doing this, it's worth noting that not every one of these will germinate, so I generally aim for about 6 if I'm sowing 9, but I think I got them all. They're not actually green, these seeds, it's just the light from the phone. So I've just been out playing dragons with my grandson, so I'm outside, so I thought I'd just quickly show you. These are some of the spinach and some of the spring onions, and it's back to lettuces. So these are Grenoble Red. This is the best lettuce for overwintering. It's really fantastic. Copes with really low light levels. That's one of the key things about it, and it's not particularly susceptible to damping off or anything like that, so pretty good. I'm going to sow 2 trays of that. So this one germinates really well, so most of the time I really just want 1 seed per cell. Occasionally 2 fall in. I don't bother getting them out, because then I just prick out the second one and use it to fill any holes. where the single seed failed to germinate. That's why I prefer just to sow these straight into the modules. So next up we've got this one I call canaster, and we see something like that. This was free with the Kitchen Garden magazine or Grow Your Own magazine, I'm not sure which. And this was my favourite summer. This is my favourite summer lettuce, which I'm just trying out over winter. We'll see how well that survives. It may well, it's very crunchy and crispy, and it may well not survive a frost very well. It is going in the polytunnel, so well, we'll just see how well it does. And this one is meant to be a winter lettuce. I've never tried it before, but we're always looking for good winter lettuces, so I'm going to give that one a go. So next up is Roxy. This is definitely one of my favourite winter lettuces, tried and trusted. If there's a lot of frosts on it, you can lose a few, maybe up to 30% of them, but the ones that you get through the year, through into winter, they're definitely worth it. They're really great, and they're really particularly good in early spring, late winter, when they turn really deep red colour. So really nice lettuce. Better in my opinion than Marvel of All Seasons or similar sort of red butterheads. And so probably by now you're thinking, God, that's a lot of lettuce. And it is a lot of lettuce. And the reason that we grow so much is because December and January and early February, lettuce grows very slowly. So you've basically got to have in the ground everything that you need for that period of time. And then sometime in February, we start taking lettuces out like every other one and planting in things like calabrese and cauliflower, Romanesco cauliflowers, things like that. And so where we're going to have those spaces that we want to take things out, that's where we sow bijou, because bijou is very unlikely to survive beyond the end of January sort of time. And so we'll take those plants out, that'll leave us gaps, and that's where we plant the early brassicas. Bijou though is a fantastic lettuce to have, even though it's not as reliable as the other varieties. It's just beautiful, you know, this really dark red colour, and it really just adds some really lovely colour to the salad mixes at a time of year when everything can be pretty green. So just before we move off lettuces, I thought I'd just show you, these are the Roxy. Some Grenoble red there, some more Grenoble red there, some more Roxy there, some spares. I've got some salad lettuce down here, salad rocket, minus lettuce at the back there, some more lamb's lettuce. And the excuse for showing you more lettuces is basically just to say the red lettuces don't do very well in winter because they don't photosynthesize as efficiently, and so light levels are low anyway, and as a result of that the plants are quite weak, and so they tend to get green fly. So it's always it's kind of useful in a way to have a few red lettuces in there, because when you see them getting green fly, then you know to watch out for it on your other plants, but they'll always get it first, and I tend to take them out at that point. And as I said, that just creates my spaces for my interplants, brassica interplants. So now I've just done the spinach. This is the spinach for the polytunnel. So I've got some red kitten there, Medania there, and America there. And you saw that in the spares tray I also did some giant winter, but I've got loads of giant winter already, so I'm not too fussed with them anymore. We need quite a lot of spinach. I think we get through about, us and Debbie and I and the rest of the family, at least 2, maybe 3 cups of spinach a day. So yeah, it's quite an important crop over winter. Well, it is the whole year round for us really. And 2 per module, and I'll actually thin these out. I don't like pricking spinach out and planting it because the roots are so long so quickly. it's really quite difficult to prick out. I mean, it works, but it's just fiddly, so I'll put 2 in and I'll thin them out. If I was doing this in spring, then I'd put 2 or 3 in here, but for winter I generally find that one individual plants grow better than multiple plants in the same module. So there we go, that's the whole lot done. And on the spinach, it's just worth noting that I will probably start clearing the spinach bed in the polytunnel in about the middle of February through to early March, because I'll start planting my early beetroot and my early turnips and my early radish and my early carrots, etc., in those beds, because by then we'll have loads of spinach in the low tunnels and cold frames outside. So I give the trays a good water with the watering can for their initial water, because it takes forever to water the way I normally do, which is one of these. So the first water, they get a really good soaking, and none of these things need heat to germinate, so they'll just go on a cool windowsill or the bedroom floor, one of the spare bedroom floors, somewhere like that, somewhere nice and cool, until the first signs of life, and then immediately they need to get somewhere nice and bright, but again not too hot, because these are all cool weather plants. So that was a fun couple of hours. I hope you liked this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.